Notts County Talk, we are live another Thursday, another Pavis Perspective, episode 134 of the Pavis Perspective. If you're listening back on Spotify, as always, we're going to ask you to give us that 5-star review. Helps us out massively. And I'll tell you what, the channel is flying at the minute. It's absolutely flying. So if you could subscribe, if you could leave a comment, leave a like, please do. That would help us out massively, absolutely massively. We are powered by Better Bytes computers. And yeah, use the code Pavis Perspective, get discounts on computer repairs or discounts on refurbished computers. I can see that the poll questions caused a bit of a stir. We've got one says, "Wow, the poll questions are getting better and better." They have to. Yeah, these questions have to be asked. Some people are upset there's not an option for both. Some people are upset there's not an option for neither. You know what? You got to tell me. And George, do you prefer curtains or blinds? And we give our opinion at the end. So I mean, stay for that. So there we go. George, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I'll be honest with you, when I thought of this question this week, it's taken a lot out of me. A lot of energy has gone into that question this week.
I asked you for a question at 7:29.
I know.
You say curtains or blinds.
I know, it's done me.
It has. I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of people joining this evening. We've already got Ian, Nigel, Ian again, Royston, Richard, John, Ken, Gary, plenty of you joining us. Martin and Helen, who are channel members, so we massively appreciate that. Ben, good to see you. Steve, Tim, Chris, plenty of you. Hartley Hare, who is also a channel member, Ian and Callum. There's lots to talk about, plenty to talk about. There's going to be referee discussion. There's going to be discussion about Jody. There's going to be discussion about Notts fielding a 15-year-old, which has broken our record for youngest ever first-team player. There's going to be plenty of discussions. Of course, 2 big away trips to Morecambe and Carlisle. We're going to have Dave on in a second representing Morecambe. But I've got some fairly strong views on not only the officials on Saturday, but the Jody situation. And I'm sure you have as well, George.
I have, but you missed a talking point there, I think. Quite a big one as well.
What have I missed?
Your background's different.
Oh, background's different. Yeah. For the first in 134 episodes, different background. So I'm in the process of moving house, and I'll have a different background next week. So big moving day tomorrow. So this is temporary. If you don't like it, I don't know. Just close your eyes, listen, and imagine I'm at my usual place. So just sit there for the full 45 minutes with your eyes shut. I think that'll be a good one. Right, George, let's chat Morecambe because we've got Dave waiting. I'll bring him in. I joined Dave to preview the Notts game back on, it would have been, I think, Monday, around the time they played Fleetwood just before. And most of what I've spoken about, the Jody situation, we weren't sure about. So I'll bring Dave in and get him on. Hi, Dave. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, gents. And to answer the poll question, blinds for me. So if you can put one more on your list there.
If you want to hear, I know it's riveting. If you want to hear what we say, you've got to stick around because that's what keeps the people watching. It's the important questions.
Hook and tease all the time.
So yeah, Dave, let us know a little bit about what you do for Morecambe.
So I am the match commentator for the local radio station called Beyond Radio in Lancaster and Morecambe. And the commentary is also taken on the iFollow stream as well. So that's I suppose a blessing and a curse in a way, gents, to be honest, really, because I have the lucky task or unlucky, depending on your point of view, really, of following the team home and away. And we have ups and downs and everything in between, really. So, we see Morecambe week in, week out.
I've got to say, the clearest voice you've ever had from a guest on here with that microphone. It's perfect.
I can give you the link to Amazon, Tom, if you want to get one.
I might have to. Genuinely, I'd actually have that link, please. I'll get it sorted out when I move. So I'm thinking back to last season, and I kind of get, it's not the same situation at all, really. I kind of get Crawley vibes of everyone picked a team that's going to get relegated and finish bottom without any hope. Crawley then go and get somehow, I still don't know how, promoted. It's not looking like that is going to happen with Morecambe this season so far. What's going on for those that haven't really, or might not understand what is happening with you?
So we are up for sale, is the bottom line. We've been up for sale for getting on for, in fact, it's just over 2 years now since the club was officially put up for sale. We are predominantly owned by a company called the Bond Group Investments, and that is one man, basically, a guy called Jason Whittingham. Now, when he bought the club back in 2018, the Bond Group saved the club, really. We were in a very bad financial situation, needed bailing out, and the Bond Group did just that. They paid our debts off and got us back on an even keel, and we'll always be very, very thankful for that. The Bond Group's way of making money historically, if you look back, is they buy companies and they flip them quickly at a profit, and then they move on to the next projects. And I think that's what they were planning on doing with Morecambe, keeping the club for a season or two, then selling it on at a profit, moving on. Everyone's a winner kind of thing. Two things happened to stop that from being the case. One, COVID struck, which obviously put everything on pause. And secondly, against all the odds, we then got promoted into League One. And of course, suddenly then a League One football club is much more appealing than a League Two one. And they kept hold of the club, and we had 2 good seasons in League One and so on and so on. Against the backdrop of that, though, as things haven't obviously gone to plan in terms of the Bond Group's form, if you will, and the way that they've done their business. And we're now at the point where we haven't got any money. The club desperately needs a new owner, and the club's been up for sale, and no deal has yet been completed. We've had months where the wages have been late. We've got a minuscule playing budget, and if you look through our squad this season, you can see how small our playing budget actually was, and everything's a bit up in the air at the moment. So that's it in a nutshell. We need a new owner, and we need one fast.
Is there any signs of that happening at all?
Well, it seems that they are hell-bent on trying to complete a deal with one particular party. Now, this particular party's been in and out of the frame for quite some time. About getting on for probably a year or so ago, the FA made the unprecedented step of putting a statement out saying, "You've not given us all information that we need. You need to give us more detail, otherwise we can't approve you and pass you the fit and proper persons test." Yeah. It's dragged on and on and on. It's clear that if this particular party had the funds and they could prove their wealth, a deal would have gone through long since. It seems quite baffling to me why it's dragged on for so long. There are other parties in the frame that are, as I understand it, who might be in a better position to complete a deal quickly, but for whatever reason, and it's obviously the Bond Group and Jason Whittingham's behest, really, a deal hasn't been completed. So we're kind of stuck in limbo at the moment, unfortunately. So we are just kind of, from a financial point of view, drifting along month by month, and hence this is where we find ourselves.
Yeah, not the same situation as Notts a few years ago. Obviously, when we went down, we had our share of issues as well. And how's, before we get onto the football side of things, what's the mood like amongst fans? Is it sort of a backs against the walls, or what's it like?
The mood in the fan base is, in terms of matters on the pitch, very positive. We're going to get behind the team. The fan base is, and we've got an amazing fan base. That's, there's no two ways about that. Everybody's pulling in the same direction in terms of we need new ownership, we demand new ownership, and the fans want to try and do everything they can to make that happen as quickly as possible. Obviously, the mood in the fan base isn't as quite as high as it would be because we're bottom of the table. We haven't won a game in the division yet, which we'll come on to in a bit, I'm sure. But the mood's pretty positive from that point of view. It's just the longer that this drags on, and it's a very unusual situation, without boring you with every single last detail, in the fact that the owner of the club isn't a director of the club. Normally your owner would be the chairman or whatever it might be. The board of directors are completely separate. The people who run the club day by day do an unbelievably good job of keeping the wheels on the bus. And that is separate, completely separate to the actual people who actually own the majority shareholding at the club. So a very bizarre situation, and hopefully it's going to be resolved soon.
Yeah, hopefully. 100%. 100%. I'm just looking at your results, and I do a show on this channel on the final Sunday of every month. And that show is the monthly meetup where we get some content creators and we award things like result of the month, player of the month, team of the month. And genuinely on my shout for result of the month is going to be your 3-3 draw with Colchester. Down to 10 men, I believe, and then 2 very, very late goals. That was the first points you got, wasn't it, this season?
It was. We had a bizarre run to start the season, and we lost our first 5 games by 1-0. And other than the opening day of the season, where we were comfortably beaten by Walsall on the opening day, we arguably deserved more than what we got in those other 4 games, and we didn't have any luck at all. 2 of the 1-0 defeats were down to goalkeeping errors, charging down of a back pass 2 weeks in a row. The other one was a very debatable penalty, very, very soft. And I'm not just saying that because it was against us. It was a really soft penalty away at Crewe. That was another 1-0. And then we lost 1-0 to Gillingham, where John Nolan, their right winger, absolutely shanked a cross, which should have gone miles out for a goal kick. It somehow dropped on the goal line. They recycled it, put the ball in the net. You couldn't have made it up, really, how much bad luck we'd had in those opening 5 games. But even so, obviously, we didn't have any points and we hadn't scored a goal at that point. The one thing that happened against Colchester was the tide turned in terms of our rubber the green. We finally got a little bit of luck. We went down to 10 men. It was a harsh sending off because the first yellow, the second, it was 2 yellow cards. First yellow card was for nothing, really. But against all odds, like you say, Tom, we kind of fought back and we got that rubber the green that perhaps that we hadn't had in previous games. We got a penalty awarded in our favour, which is a very rare occurrence. And then for the winner, the shot which led to the goal was going out for almost to hit the corner flag, really. It took a wicked deflection and flew in the opposite corner. So we got that shade of fortune, and we absolutely deserved the point, really. So we went from no goals and no points in 5 games to 3 in 1 match. So onwards and upwards from there, really.
You basically did the exact same as what we did against Fleetwood as well. The only difference was being that we were at home and you were away. 2-0 down to Fleetwood, who I think they're a decent side. They are a decent side. And then a goal midway through, well, a little bit further midway through, and then a late equaliser again. I'm just seeing comments here. I didn't get to watch the game. Chris says, watch the Morecambe game. Could have been 5-0 down at half-time, but credits where it's due. Second half, that was impressive. Does that kind of sum it up?
100%. I thought Fleetwood were great in the first half. Charlie Adam had Fleetwood playing some really good football. I wouldn't say we knocked on the door. We had a couple of reasonable chances. We hit the bar with a header at 0-0, which might put a different perspective on it. But I think Fleetwood were probably good value for their 2-0 half-time lead. But I think that the thing where Fleetwood fall down is they run out of steam after an hour. Speaking to some of their fans after the game and some of their media, and they said it's an ongoing situation for Fleetwood this season, where they're great for the first 60-65 minutes, as they were against you guys earlier in the season, and then they just run out of steam, and that allows you to get back into the game. And we always knew, certainly with what we could bring off the bench, and we swapped it around, had a quadruple substitution at half time, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Brought a lot more muscle on, went a bit more direct, and it paid dividends. And arguably we could have snuck it at the end, but a 2-2 draw was the very least we deserve. So that gives us the momentum that perhaps we didn't have a week or so ago going into the game on Saturday against you guys.
Definitely.
Do you think sort of the financial side of things, and obviously the difficulties off the pitch, do you think it's sort of unifying the players and the fans and sort of bringing them closer together? Because obviously you do sit bottom of the table, but like you said, you feel like you deserve more from some of the games, and you know performances are picking up. Do you feel like I would say, George, that, yeah, I think I think in terms of the points, we probably should realistically be 5 or 6 points better off than what we actually are. I think if we had 7 or 8 points at the moment, that would probably be a reasonable return, and everybody would be a lot more comfortable. I'm in a lucky position when I get to sort of see the inner workings of the squad week in, week out, and this isn't just for public show. It's a fact that the team spirit is exceptional. It's absolutely exceptional. Now, whether it is that siege mentality that we're bottom of the table, we haven't got any money, everybody thinks we're rubbish, everybody thinks we're getting relegated, we're going to pull together and really show the footballing world that we are much better than that. I think it's partly that, and it's partly that our manager Derek Adams has just
recruited very astutely with a microscopic budget. Really, look at a lot of our squad members, George, and they were playing their trade in non-league football last season, and some who have pretty much played every game so far were struggling to get into National League sides last season. I think that shows you where we are in terms of our budget, but it also shows you that a manager with 800 odd games of professional management under his belt, he knows what he's talking about. Do you know what I mean? So we've had to recruit astutely, and hopefully that's going to sort of get dividends down the track. Obviously, it's not quite worked out at the moment, but the tide is turning. Turning slowly.
I came to the Tuesday night game last season 0-0. How a Notts game ended 0-0 last season, I'll never know. But there we go. And then I chatted to you, Dave, didn't I, on the podcast on Monday. You were the only side to not score past us, which is genuinely remarkable for judging on last season. But I can't remember the reception that Dan Crowley got. There's two players going to come back. There's Dan Crowley, who's been back as a Notts player, and there's Jacob Bedu. I'm assuming Bedu will get a good reception.
Absolutely, you got heroes welcome. Jacob was amazing for us. The make no mistake, we would have dearly liked to have kept him. We didn't offer him a deal in the summer because it was very obvious that he was going to be looking elsewhere, and it was no real surprise when he moved to Notts County. I think it's a brilliant move for Jacob, and as you've seen yourself, gents, he's an exceptional defender at this level. Comfortable in the middle, can play on the left side, left-footed, adds that balance, got a pass, happy to bring it out from the back. He's got a complete game, really, and I think Jacob in a couple of years will be playing much higher up the pyramid, whether it's with yourselves or another club. I think you should be very grateful to have a player of that calibre, really, and we're very sad to see him go. He's going to get a hero's welcome. He'll get a very warm reception on Saturday. Hopefully he makes his one mistake of the season against us and it leads to the winning goal. Fingers crossed. But you've got yourselves a good one there as well, you know. Dan Crowley's an interesting one. I think the reception for him will be a mixed bag, to be honest. For me personally, I thought he was great for us when he came on. When we signed him in the January transfer window of that season, I thought he gave us every chance of staying up, and he's obviously got quality far and above League Two. There's no question about that, but obviously there are reasons why he's playing in League Two as well. A lot of the fan base didn't particularly take to him for one reason or another, and I know that after he left us, he deleted all of the Morecambe content off his social media and stuff like that. I mean, that's his prerogative to do that, isn't it, I suppose? So I think he'll get a mixed reception. Hopefully Crowley's going to have a quiet game, and Jacob's going to have that one mistake of the season. But yeah, it'll be a bit of a mixed bag, I think.
Yeah. I think away from home, that's where he needs to improve, Crowley. I think to be consistent, I think I just want to see a little bit more from him. Saying that, you get some great games from him away from home. Couple more questions then before I let you go, Dave. We appreciate you joining us on Thursday. We asked this to everyone. Is there a player, and you've already mentioned this, player's been playing in non-league last season, that we are unlikely to know about that we should keep an eye on that plays for Morecambe?
Yeah, I'll give her a couple, actually. There'll be some who you will be very familiar with at this level. We've got a great defender. We've got a couple of great defenders at the back, actually. One is Jamie Stotts, who used to play for Halifax and played every second for Halifax in the National League last season. He's adapted to EFL football like a duck to water, really. You'd think he's played there for 10 years. We've got Rhys Williams on loan from Liverpool alongside him as well. I mean, we're playing the back three at the moment. So it'd be him and those two and one other on Saturday. But Rhys Williams has played in the Champions League. He played about 20 games for Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, and when Virgil van Dijk got injured, and he's got that quality. He's pretty effortless on the ball, really. So good at the back. Going further forward, our issue this season, of course, has been scoring goals. I mean, that said, we've got 5 in the last 2 matches after none in the first 5 games, so hopefully the tide's turning there. You probably need to watch out for our muscle up top, really. Lee Angol is a proper target man. He's been around the block a bit, hasn't he? Obviously, Sutton United last season, and then went into non-league and came back in. We've got a guy on loan from Salford City who you might not have heard of. He's called Marcus Dackers, and he has made quite the impression. He scored the equaliser against Colchester, although I say the shot was going very, very much well wide, and then it took a deflection and went in. But I think he's been credited with it. On Monday, he came off the bench and provided the cross for Hallam Hope to score an unorthodox equaliser. He chested it in from about 7 yards out instead of heading it, but it flew into the back of the net, so it all counts. He is 6'7". He's quite slightly built, but he's quite physical at the same time. He'll get the ball from deep. He'll run at you, not afraid to go wide and come and fetch the ball. So watch out for Marcus Dack, because I think he's got a fair chance of starting on Saturday. And if he does, that'll be his first start of the season. So we can hurt you, but there'll be a lot of players in the team on Saturday, gents, that you'll look down our list and you'll don't really recognise that name. But that's the pool that we've had to fish in terms of our transfer business this summer.
Definitely doesn't sound like a game that's going to be easy. Yes, as the table might suggest if you just looked at it.
Not at all, Tom. Not at all.
I've got a comment here saying Sutton striker ? Yes, we didn't do very well against Sutton last year or any of their strikers. I think conceded.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry, gents.
Yeah, horrendous. Final thing then, can I have a score prediction, Dave?
It's hard to judge because if we play like we've played the last two games, we've got a chance. I would say this is arguably our toughest test of the season against you guys on Saturday. We'll play a back three. There's no doubt about that. We'll play a 3-5-2 variation with wing backs, because our main, or one of our main striking options, attacking options, Gwion Edwards is injured. A bit like Jody. He's our Jody Jones, I think, if you will. So probably the two main creative players missing for either side on Saturday, perhaps. If we can play like we played in the last 20 minutes on Monday, we have a chance. Personally, I think a draw would be a great result, so I'm going to go for 1-1.
1-1. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy, but Dave, massively appreciate you coming on. If anyone would like a little bit of a different angle, and one that was more recent to our Gillingham defeat, where I was still a little bit hot-headed after a few incidents, then check out the Shrimps Verdict podcast. I have actually reposted it on my personal Twitter, so go and have a listen to that. Go and support Dave as well. And Dave, been great having you on, and hopefully chat to you again later in the season. But yeah, enjoy the game on Saturday.
Yeah, looking forward to it, gents. Good luck for the rest of the season. I think, as I said on your on our podcast, Tom, you're going to be there. You know you're going to be there or thereabouts, don't you? If you don't have your mid-season fall off a cliff like you had last season, you're going to be at least in and around the top 7. So hopefully you have an off day on Saturday, and we can get our first 3 points of the campaign. But any fans listening to this, don't be fooled by our league position and our current points tally of 2 points from the first 7 games. We are a much better side than that. So take us lightly at your peril. But looking forward to it, lads. Good luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Dave. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Dave. Nice one.
We're smashing it with guests, aren't we, this season?
We're doing well.
Calibre of guests I've had on this season. Still no Accrington guests, but I'm not upset about that. Definitely not upset. I've mentioned it every week. But yeah, fantastic to get Dave on. Really, really good perspective on what's going on at Morecambe. Looking forward to the game as well. Should be an interesting one, because we need to bounce back in the league, don't we, George? First defeat.
Yeah. Disappointing result, obviously, but I feel like the performance was there, wasn't it? On Saturday, and I think, looking at the goal, it's not the clearest, is it? But I mean, I called it that. I think that was offside when our goal went in, and then it got flagged about 3 hours after the goal went in. But I think on another, you said to me, didn't you? You play that game 10 times, you win 9 of those games. You win that game 9 times, don't you? So I feel like confidence shouldn't really be knocked from that game at all. And then obviously we, not a game with as high stakes, and obviously players, youth players and stuff coming through, and players that are on the fringe of the squad playing on Tuesday night against Burton. We win that game against them, which is, also good for confidence. So yeah, I think we're in a mentally we can't be anything but in a good position.
Yeah, I think the game against Burton can't be underestimated, because I know it's a different competition. You've got youth players out, but we put a solid performance in there, and you've not. Or I know it's not in the league, but you've not got 2 defeats in a row. Then you bounce straight back with players that like Sam Austin. You can put him in any side. You can tell him it's a friendly, that means nothing, and he'll give a million %. So I'm not disheartened at all by Saturday against Gillingham. I am frustrated, is the word I would use. It reminded me, not quite to the same extent, but it reminded me of Dagenham at home in the promotion season where we just couldn't score.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think the goal is offside. I know why they've given it offside. When the ball's played in, both players are onside, and the linesman thinks Brown has flicked it onto Austin.
Yeah.
And I think he's waiting to ask the ref. And my problem is, you have to be sure. Yeah. You have to be sure to disallow that, and they're not sure. They're clearly not sure. Nobody can tell me they were sure. The ref and linesman couldn't come to me and say they're sure, because if you're sure, you put your flag straight up. I mean, how long? How long was that after? It's got to be a good 6 or 7 seconds. And that doesn't sound a long time, but it is for a celebration. It is. I mean, you've got the whole stadium up. Not one Gillingham player appealed. Not one. So even if I'm the ref and I'm not sure, and I think I'm really not sure for this, the fact no other players appealed, I'm thinking I'm just going to let it stand. Because I thought the ref was really, really poor. And I say things on this channel about referees not being good and so on and so forth. But I don't really go into it too much. I thought the ref was very, very poor at the weekend. And I think he was inconsistent for both sides. I'm not just saying it was not. I don't think he had a grip on the game. He lost the game in the first minute when he let that challenge on Abbott go. And Abbott, out of frustration as a young player, flew into their player. Same type of tackle. And Abbott's was 100% a yellow. Same type of tackle, and he goes and gives Abbott a yellow. Now, we've seen Abbott in the games he's played fly in. You then limit Abbott from playing like he normally plays because he can't fly in. He reminds me of a Robbo-type player. He can't dive into tackles, and it limits him as a player. So, I don't know. I mean, the standards on the floor, it's always on. Actually, it's not. You know what? This season, we've not had too many bad referees. But that on that day, the whole officiating team were absolutely dreadful. The ref, to me, looked like at some points he couldn't even keep up with play. I just think it was absolutely dreadful. And he is, to be fair, I've said the refs haven't been too bad, but he is the 6th referee this season we've had that has failed to protect Jody. And whether it's a good tackle or not, whether that tackle that injured Jody, and hopefully is not injured too badly, is a clean tackle or not, the player has been allowed to go in at that speed and at that pace. Now, people say, "Oh, well, he might have won the ball." If there is a half a second difference between Jody's movement or the player's movement, it's not a good tackle. So going in at that speed, regardless of if you win the ball, is endangering a player. It is. And I don't know. I've seen rumours of 3, 4, 5 months. If it is, oh my gosh.
I know, yeah. It'd be our best player out, wouldn't it? Without a shadow of a doubt, and that would be gutting. It would be absolutely gutting. And yeah, I think, like you sort of touched on there is that element of, and not just Jody. I think a few of our players have sort of been targeted, haven't they? So I think for that to be allowed to go on as much as it has this season, it's poor, really, isn't it? You expect better.
And what really gets me is in every post match and almost every post match, Maynard's been saying it. He said we need protection for these players. But you know what I like about Maynard is acknowledge that football is a contact sport, and he loved the tackle that Dan Crowley went in with one of their might have been Armani Little. He likes that, but come on. There's I don't know as a qualified official how you can't see that it's like a merry-go-round. You take a kick out of Jody, then I'll wait a little while and someone else do it. Do you know what I mean? It's really poor. And you know what? I'm actually more gutted about Jody than the result if it is an injury. A couple of things that I'm not sure about, and it was put on here. Why was he allowed to walk around the pitch?
Yeah, I said that, didn't I, to you?
Yeah. I mean, it must have taken 7 or 8 minutes to get around the pitch. Why then have we not heard anything? Which in my mind, and this, look, they could tweet something straight after the video. Who knows? My mind gives me a little bit of hope. I think usually you wait 2 or 3 days, don't you, for bruising to go down. I think we would have known by now. He then posted a picture on Instagram where he's not in a boot or anything. I'm hopeful it's just rumours, but when you lower down the pyramid, things that are rumours tend to have a bit of truth to them. So,
yeah, I know what you mean, but I feel like with rumours, it's probably like 30% of them have an essence of truth to them.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near like half of the rumours that you hear of an essence of truth to them. There is, I'd probably say a quarter of them, maybe 25%. But I think now that Notts, and I can't really speak for many other clubs, but Notts play the cards very close to their chest, whereas they didn't used to do that as much. I don't think. Like every Thursday, it'd be team news. Any injuries. That's not really the way it seems to be being done at the moment, is it? It's very like cards close to the chest sort of stuff. So I think either way, if he's got a long-term injury or if it was just like an impact knock and he's going to be out for I don't know, a few days or something like that, I don't actually think we'd know. I think it's going to be one of those where you have to sort of make your own mind up.
Yeah.
If he's not in the squad on Saturday, we know there's an issue type thing.
Yeah, I think either way, I don't think there's any way he plays Saturday, even plays a part. Someone said, I watched tackle back on Jody in the replay and it isn't as bad looking initially. No, I don't think it's nowhere near one of the worst tackles he's received this season. But it's the fact that players think they can see, or players think they can go in at that speed on him because you can do what you want to him, basically. And I think his position is used against him because wingers do get tackled heavily, don't they? Because they're that type of flair player. Shouldn't be like that. If it is bad, if it is as bad as some people are suggesting, we're going to have to change a lot because we run a lot of our attacks through him. It's going to put major pressure on our other creative players. Kellen Gordon, who we're going to go on about speak in a minute, in the Burton game, gets his goal, looks positive. He's going to have to step in. But without your best player by some way for a sustained period of time, wow. I mean, thinking about last season, Stockport get promoted and they lose Louis Barry for a long time, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna really be, can we defend, can we keep people out, and can we get goals? So, yeah, I think really, really good about that. Someone here has mentioned maybe Ian. Ref was shaking Gillingham players' hands during the game. I know as he went down the tunnel, he had a massive grin on his face as he was getting abuse from Notts fans. I'm not saying there's any. I'm not one of these players that says there's fans that says there's corruption or anything. He's just an incompetent referee.
There's a clear agenda.
You reckon?
Clear as day.
I reckon he has blinds and curtains. Personally,
bin bags.
Who knows? Bin bags. Who knows?
Tinfoil.
But let's go a bit more positive. It was a good performance, and I said to you 9 wins out of 10. I think you could go further than that. I think you could probably say play that 20 times and we probably win 19 out of 20. Genuinely.
Too far.
It's not too far. Not too far. I said to you 9 out of 10. You said to me, nah, more like 18 out of 20. That's what you said to me. Superb maths, but there we go. Is there a danger that Notts asking after every game for ref to protect players makes it sound like a soft touch? Other teams think they can exploit that, says Alex. And not for me. I think it's just put it on the radar as much as you can. And let's be honest. What we hear in post-match and pressers is nothing to what probably gets said to the fourth officials and things like that.
It's one of those as well, isn't it? If you didn't say it, people would be saying, why isn't Maynard saying, they need to protect our players? Like, for me, he has to say it, and he has to say it publicly.
Yeah. Especially a player that's had such bad career-threatening injuries as Jody.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm not saying the Gillingham lad went in to do it.
No.
Gill's podcast vloggers were claiming they'd been on the wrong end of decisions during the match. Debatable for the penalty claim for them. I don't know what else was on the wrong end of, but it wasn't anything like Notts level. But do they even themselves out?
I also think it's possible for the ref to be bad for both teams.
Yeah, so do I. I thought the ref was just on the day was just a bad referee.
Yeah,
really poor referee. So there we go. But let's go on to quickly the the Burton Albion game, I loved that starting lineup. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, last year in those kind of competitions, we were playing nearly our first team and getting hammered. And they brought some good players on. As Maynard said, they brought some good players on. And we dealt with it. Cameron Muir breaks our record. He's only just turned 15. That is insane to me.
Yeah.
That is insane. Do you like that? Some people say it's token gesture. I love that. I think it's fantastic. A player of 15 coming on in a game, not a league game, when there's still stuff to play for in that game and holding his own is great. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't see why you think it would be a bad thing, to be honest. I know people would say, oh, it's a token gesture, but I mean, it's the way you look at things, isn't it? I think players need to break through somewhere, don't they? Do you know what I mean? You can't forever buy, an established 25-year-old all the time. Players have to come through the ranks somewhere at some point, or they'll get to a point where everyone's just got a 30-year-old team. Yeah. And then everyone's retiring, and then there's just no football players left.
Yeah.
It's just that way. Yeah.
No football players left. No game tonight, lads. Everyone's 45.
Yeah.
Everyone's shattered. Chris says great away following Tuesday, well worth the trip. I think we've nearly sold out for Morecambe on Saturday, which is great. But what I like is Maynard said we've always brought youth through, because that's what I think is our next step as a club. We know we can bring good players in. We know we can loan good players in, but can we? Well, mostly loan good players in, but can we also develop our own players? Because that's also what drives profit. As much as you don't want to see players go, that's what drives profit. So
it's extremely difficult at the same time. Extremely difficult. With a club with us that have that sort of target to get promotion, the head coach, manager, whatever you want to call them, they're putting their neck on the line, really giving the chances to those players. So they must really believe in those talents when they do give them the option. So as much as I agree, it's good for the club, and it's a big gamble as well. You know what I mean? So that can't be overlooked, really.
Yeah, it can't. A few people mentioning the Carlisle game now. Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. I'll be at Carlisle on Tuesday. New ground for me. I don't know. I mean, I'll give a brief mention to it. I will talk more about it after it's the All Black and White episode. But got Mike Williamson, haven't they? So it's a completely different team to what we're going to face. I think that's going to be really hard. I think Morecambe could be tricky, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult in terms of Carlisle on Tuesday. And I would take, just like someone's mentioned in here, I would take 4 points from those games. You have to take 4 points from those games. I think a draw on Saturday is not the end of the world. A loss is really poor. I think. So, right, let's go for our lineup there.
Before we go on, there's quite a good question put in here. Who was the last genuine talent developed at Notts? Colby Bishop, ? Good question. Someone's just put in, Joe, Keon Atete to Spurs. It's a good point. I think was he at Northampton, was he? That's Cardiff.
Atete's at Cardiff, playing the Championship.
There you go.
I don't know how much he's playing anymore. I'm just having a look. Keon Atete is currently injured. Last season played 28 games, 3 goals. The season before, 28 games, 3 goals. Still only 22. So
still young, yeah.
Yeah. Only 22. Right. Let's go for the team. For me, same goalkeeper, same back three.
Yes. From Saturday, against Gillingham.
Yeah. Rob McDonald gets a bit of a shout as well, but I wouldn't play him, wouldn't start him. Left wing back Cerula needs to show a little bit more of what he was like when he was just breaking into the side. Right wing back, I would be amazed, and it's fooled everyone. Not fooled everyone. We haven't heard anything from the club. But if Jody plays, I'll be amazed. Absolutely amazed.
Yeah.
No way does he play, I don't think. So it's got to be Kellen Gordon.
Yeah.
Midfield, I don't know here. I don't know.
No, I think the midfield's tricky. Tough to call.
It is tricky. I think Matty Palmer starts.
Mm-hmm.
I think I give Abbott another one, another start.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we do it? We've got no Edwards. I don't know. I think we just have those two in the middle. And then I think we go Crowley, Didsey, Jatta.
Hopefully Jatta's back.
Yeah, I hope so.
But yeah,
Robbo's
I agree.
back, someone said. Yeah, I think we've got to go for it. We've got to go and attack.
Probably a bit soon for Robbo, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Sam Austin on the right, Joe says. I think go Kellen Gordon. I want to see Kellen Gordon. Play Didsey in the 10 behind Jatta and Crowley. Yeah, definitely. Definitely an option there. So, I mean, we've talked a lot of football. Let's talk curtains or blinds, George. What's the poll question saying? Because it's a big one. Oh, can I just say, but why are you finding that? One person did get it right. The player anagram, very, very well done. I can't remember who it was. Ride Vaccine was Cedric Avina, which is a great one. Ian says no Grant. Grant didn't impact massively for me in the last one. I think I would just maybe have him off the bench as an option. But yeah, Cedric Avina.
Good one. Well done. Whoever got that. Yeah, poll question then. Curtains or blinds? The poll question is just the answers as well. So curtains, 58% wins. Blinds, 42%.
Where do you sit? You can only have one in your house. What are you having?
In my house at the moment, I actually just have curtains. But in my previous house, I had blinds. So I've had the best of both worlds. And I can honestly say to you, blinds are better.
Yeah, but nightmare to clean.
Nightmare to clean, but I'm sat in my living room now next to my window, and I'm looking at it. The curtains are closed, and they're taking up space. It's annoying.
Fair play for that. I'm gonna go. I voted blinds, but they are a pain to clean. I think the less we say on that now, the better. Because a very, very silly poll question.
No,
it's a good one though. It's
probably the best one we've had.
We like to know. No, we like to know. My favourite one we ever had was what do you have with cake? Like hot chocolate cake, chocolate fudge cake, wasn't it? We said custard, ice cream, or cream, I think. That was a solid one, that was. Solid. Yeah, good one. Right. Score predictions then. 3-1 knots. Jatta hat trick.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see us drawing, you know.
I wouldn't be that upset with that.
I think we have to win. I do think we have to win on Saturday. I think we have to bounce back. I know it's early and the pressures, you could say, not really there because of our good start, but we don't want to let it slip away. I think we need to keep the good run going. I think we need to win. I think it's going to be tighter than that. I think it'll be a 1-0 knots. Okay,
fair enough. We've got 2-0 here.
Yeah, a double.
3-1 knots. I hope he plays. Someone said we would have beat Gillingham with Jatta, and I agree. 2-1. Pamela says 3-1 knots. We've got a 3-0 knots. 3-1. 2-0. 3-0. 3-0. 3-1. Callum coming in with sensible again. 7-1. Jatta hat-trick. Scott and Chickson hat-trick. Yeah, could happen actually. We've got a 2-1 knots. A 2-0 knots. I'll go for a couple more. 5-0. Palm runs the show. Crowley hat-trick. Cups is here to the home fans. 4-2. There's loads coming in here. 2-1. I can't get them all in now. I am very, very sorry. And I'll go one more. Let's go for John with 3-0 knots. Spoke to Stuart on the phone. He said if you subscribe to Notts County Tour, there's more chance that we beat Morecambe on Saturday.
Smart. Stuart
said that to me. Not Maynard, just guy from down the road. But, you know, he gives good advice. So if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. We are flying this season, and it means the content will bring you and the things we can do with sort of giveaways or competitions we run is just increased so much. So please do support us. And we will have videos up. It's all black and white episodes for Morecambe and for Carlisle. Safe travels to anyone going. They are two very, very long trips. However you get there, not the most train-friendly trips if you're coming from Nottingham either. Yeah, but let's hope for at least 4 points when we come back next Thursday. As always, like the video and comment anything else you can remember.